What's up, everybody? Nitreg here from nitreg.com, and this is day 6 of the 31-day poker challenge, and we are almost a week into this. And today we're going to be doing our second hand history review. This is going to be a pretty interesting hand that I think will hopefully spark some discussion and spark some thought in your head. So anyway, let's go ahead and play it. I'm not sure why the HUD's not working right now, but I was playing around some settings and I think I accidentally clicked something, so I'll have to go ahead and play around with it some more to get it back. But in the meantime, I'll just kind of tell you what's up. Fox Lady goes ahead and opens. She's constantly playing just kind of like a standard reg. I don't think she's a winner. I think she like breaks even or something. We get a call here on the button by Grandall156, and his stats were 24-14, so he definitely plays a lot of hands. A lot of pairs, suited connectors, Broadways, just all sorts of hands. He's pretty loose, so he goes ahead and calls, and then I go ahead and call in the blinds with ace-queen suited. I think that's fairly standard. I mean, it could be argued to 3-bet here for value, but it's hard to imagine any of these players calling with that much worse. I don't think Foxy Lady will call with worse. Maybe Grandall will call some worse, but I'd rather not be multi-way out of position. I'd rather just see a cheap flop with a hand that can hit pretty strongly. So I go ahead and call, and the big blind folds, and I have 2 overs and a flush draw. So this is a good flop to have. So I know some of my students would go ahead and lead out here. I personally don't really like it, just because we can't really represent too much other than maybe some like pair like 8s, 9s, 10s, and flush draws. So I think it'll be pretty easy to play against us. Like if a flush comes out, they'll just fold. And I think it'll force them to kind of play their hands straightforward. I just don't really like leading out here. I think if we check though, they'll go ahead and c-bet their air, plus they'll c-bet their value hands that they were going to call us with anyway if we donked out. And they'll go ahead and bet with their worst flush draws as well. So I just like checking here. Also, we can kind of see what happens because there's 2 players behind us. We can see, we'll get a little bit more information that way. So we go ahead and check, and Fox Lady goes ahead and c-bets 2/3 pot, which is pretty standard. I think that when Foxy Lady goes ahead and c-bets here, she could have overcards that it's just c-bet bluffing. She could have a flush draw. She could have overpairs. She might even have something like pocket 6s or pocket 5s that's just bluffing. So I think that her hand range could be decently wide. And then we go ahead and get this raise here. This raise is kind of a smallish raise. It's under 3 times the c-bet. So when I see this raise, first of all, we have to ask what sort of range we're putting this person on. The thing is, people don't really like raise in these spots with pocket 9s, pocket 8s. That's something that you'd see in live poker. People that just like flop over pairs with their really crappy pair, and then just like going nuts with it because they flopped an overpair. But online, people are better than that, and they don't just like instantly stack off with pocket 8s in this spot. Just because they're never going to get it in ahead against Foxy Lady. So I doubt that this person's ever just going to be like raise calling off here with pocket 8s in this spot. So I would kind of discount that. I would say that they would also not raise with a hand like pocket deuces or pocket 7s, because those hands have pretty much the nuts, and they will want to go ahead and call so they can induce me to try to come along or maybe come back over the top of them. So I kind of discount those hands. They might have slow played a biggish pocket pair like 10s, jacks, queens, maybe sometimes kings or aces, but I doubt that often. Also, I don't think ace deuce is going to be in their range that often because Foxy Lady is kind of a tighter reg. I don't think that this Grandall person on the button would go ahead and flat with ace deuce. But if he did, it would have to be ace deuce suited. So specifically, ace deuce of ace deuce of hearts and ace deuce of clubs. And those are the only 2 combinations that I would put him on. Though I think he would fold those or 3-bet them most of the time. So that being said, his other raise, he could definitely have a small, just completely bluff here, like maybe raise king queen offsuit or something. That's possible. Uh, they could also have. They're probably the same reasons. If they have top pair, they're probably not going to be raising here, but for the same reasons as if they have pocket eights or nines. It just doesn't make any sense at all, and they're never going to get called by worse. And I think online players are better than live players, and they're not going to be just like, oh, I have an overpair, let's get it all in. Um, so I doubt that that's going to be true so often. So I think majority of this guy's range is like flush draws. It would obviously be worse flush draws than mine, since I have the nut flush draw. And sometimes they might have like ace deuce or some like biggish sort of pocket pair, like tens, jacks, queens, kings, aces. Of course, I have an ace and a queen in my hand, so it's very unlikely that it's aces or queens. And especially not likely to be aces, queens, or kings because he didn't 3-bet pre-flop. So that being said, we have to think about what to do here. I think calling is not really the best option. It's not that bad either, just since we have so much equity. We have to call 388 into a 722 pot, but we're not completing the action, so Foxy Lady could definitely just jam over the top of us. Folding, it sucks because we have a really strong hand, but folding, I guess, is an okay option just because we're facing such strength here. Both players are showing a lot of strength, so I don't know if I really want to just like stick around with draws. But I think if you're, I don't think it's the best play, but I don't think it's that bad either to just go ahead and fold. And then my last option was raise, and we have to think about why we're raising here and what amount to make it. So if we raise here, it would be pretty much, it's for very thin value. I think our hand is ahead of the ranges that are raising here from Grandel, and I think that given the raise on the flop and then the re-raise, that Foxy Lady will have to fold unless she specifically has like pocket deuces or pocket sevens. I think if maybe she has like aces or kings, maybe queens, she'll go ahead and call off as well. But when you face that much aggression, even on a fairly dry board, I'll consider this dry just because there's not really straights possible and there's not really that many sets possible or full houses. So I don't know. I think that she could definitely lay down a fairly big pocket pair like eights, nines, tens, jacks, stuff like that, and maybe queens, kings, aces. So I decided to go ahead and raise for those reasons, and I have to think about how much to raise. I think some people here might try to raise to like $8 or something, but if you raise to $8, it's a really small raise size, and you're gonna get played back at a lot, and also you're kind of committing yourself to the stack or to the pot anyway. So I think that it's okay to just go ahead and shove here for value. It's a little over a 5 times raise, which is a little on the high side, but it's not that ridiculous. So yeah, I decided to go ahead and jam here for value. Very thin value. Foxy Lady folds, which I approve of, and Grandal calls. So obviously that's not the best thing ever, but I think the majority of his range will be deuce X, middle highish pocket pairs, and worse flush draws. And so let's go ahead and put that range in there. First of all, I just put in, like, let's say he has a really strong hand like jacks. We're basically flipping with him. We're putting in, we're basically putting in our entire stack to win his entire stack plus all the dead money in the pot, which makes it profitable for us. But let's say on this board, actually, let me go ahead, move this really quick. Let's say he has tens, jacks, queens, kings, aces. The nice thing about Poker Stove is it counts the possible outs, or the possible combos, because I have the ace and queen in my hand. And then the other option would be ace two suited. Specify clubs and hearts. Doesn't really matter, but it'll probably figure that out on its own. Another part of his range will be worse flush draws as well, like two overs and a flush draw. So go ahead and do king jack spades. We can go ahead and do jack 10 of spades. I don't know how often he has like king 9 of spades. I'll include it because he could definitely have some like random hands in his range as well sometimes. Maybe 10-9 of spades. I don't know how many of these hands he gets in, but maybe if we just include these four hands, that'll be kind of representative of his range there, and just kind of leave out the rest. I'm not really sure how often he'll call there, so we'll say this is good. I think this is a good estimate. Go ahead and evaluate, and we have 48% equity, which I think is pretty good, considering that we're flipping, considering that we're putting in our stack to win his entire stack plus all the dead money. And on top of that, let's say he has something like pocket 8s or pocket 9s that he raises. We could also get him to fold pre-flop as well. So I think that this is a good shove here. It's pretty borderline, but I think it's profitable. Given our ranges and our assessment that we can value shove Grandal, and we can get Fox Lady to fold. So we go ahead and shove. He has aces, and the spade comes out, and I win like the fish that I am. I hit my draw, and good for me. The interesting thing to note is that he has pocket aces here. Now, normally people 3-bet pocket aces, and they're not going to like call and then raise the flop small. That's not a very standard thing to have happen. So I would definitely note this guy for the future. That's very non-standard, and that really sticks out to me. So I'd go ahead and note him in the future that his raises on the flop can include overpairs. And it would also tell me that when he 3-bets pre-flop, there's a better chance that he does not have a big pocket pair. So I think all in all, that works out pretty well for us. And we ended up sucking out on him, which I don't really feel bad for him because, as you all know, it happens to us all the time. So +1 for the good guys, and I think it makes for an interesting hand review. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care.